Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all well and looking forward to the week ahead. Feeling a little bit hungover today, if I'm honest, so hopefully it won't impede too much on what I'm trying to tell you. So if we look at the markets last week, we had the third week in the row where the majority of indices were up. We saw the Dow up 2.2%, the Nasdaq up 1%, the FTSE up 0.8%, Shanghai was up 5.2%, and the DAX was up 1.2%. The only market to buck that trend, which was probably due to the sort of sell-off due to the significant gains the week before, was the Nikkei, which was down 1.3% on the week. As has been the case in the majority of weeks, we've seen the bundle of four that I always talk about being Facebook, Microsoft, Apple and Google. Had you invested in those, you'd have seen a 2% increase in the value of your shares last week, doubling that of what the Nasdaq did. As far as the currencies goes, we're seeing the US dollar starting to pull back a little bit. It's been very, very strong for a long time, and we saw a little bit of strength in the euro and the pound. So we've got the euro at 113 and the pound at 144. We have the Chinese yuan at 6.5 and the Japanese yen at 111. So what we have going on at the moment is we have oil back up at $40 a barrel. I think what that's doing is that's creating a sense of normality in the markets, which is allowing the kind of steady growth we've seen over the last 3 to 4 weeks. Most of the major indices are pretty much flat for the year to date after that shocking start to the year. In fact, I think I saw that the Dow was 0.2% difference to what it was on the 1st of January. So, things are starting to get back to normal, and people are starting to have a bit more confidence in the fact that the economy is not as bad as you'd be led to believe by some of the press out there. Just a little thing on the pensions. I was chatting to a guy at the weekend, and he'd telling me, unfortunately, he wasn't a client of mine. He'd already established a relationship with somebody. And without knowing it, he had £120,000 of pensions with companies he worked for when he was younger, sat there doing nothing. And he was able to move those into a QUP and take some of the money out early. I mean, these QUPs that we're involved with, they are very useful tools if you are non-resident in the UK and living overseas. So it's definitely worth coming and having a chat with me about them. A lot of these annuities that you have to invest in die with you. A lot of these QUP pensions don't. Obviously, there's a lot more complexities to it than that. But if you come down and have a chat, then I'm sure it can be a benefit for you. And of course, the beauty of it is it won't cost you a penny. On the sporting fronts, we're continuing to see Leicester, 8 points clear now. Manchester City losing last night helped. So it's turning into a bit of a two-horse race between them and Spurs. So, I think most of the people out there would be supporting Leicester and hoping to see a wonderful story finally come to fruition, which should be great. And a congratulations to England as well, who completed a Grand Slam, first one since 2003 in the rugby. So to finish the day, again, I'm talking about stocks that I like, and I think I might have mentioned in one of my written monthly briefs that I like McDonald's. I was in Bangkok over the weekend, and although I trip in there from time to time and have meetings, this was the first time I'd really sort of driven around and had a good look at the place in quite some time. And one of my sons pointed out to me how many McDonald's there were. As you know, McDonald's is a share that I like, and again, this is just sort of feeding into the idea that it's a growth story. There's more and more people in the developing world, you can probably just about say Thailand is still a developing world, that are following the same trends that us in the more developed worlds do. In fact, I saw in one of the McDonald's when I popped in to get a dessert, because I am a fan of the desserts there. I think they're good value and they're tasty for the chocolate sundaes. I saw a double Big Mac, which is the first time that I'd ever seen that before. So just to finish with a quote for the day, and again, it relates back to what I was just talking about. I've probably used this quote before, but if it's a good one, there's no harm in drumming it in. Peter Lynch, one of the most successful fund managers of all time from Fidelity, his famous line is, know what you own and why you own it. If you own McDonald's, everybody knows, what McDonald's is. so you know exactly what you own. And why do you own it? Because there's growth there. Simple. Have a nice week. Bye.